for hope yet. Oh, what's that? What? What you say? Warren Horizon's going to be in Philly. Who's bringing them out? Time for an awakening and legacy of a nation. Oh, I gotta be there. Tell me more. When they're coming? Saturday, May 25th. Let me get a pen and paper, sis, because you know I gotta write this down. All right. So go ahead. So you said War on the Horizon's very own Irritated Gene's going to be live in Philly on Saturday, May 25th. Where's it going to take place? The Shanghai City Cultural Center, 3117 West Maxter Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. Okay, I got it. Now, let me ask you this. What's he going to be talking about? Where's your black God? Oh, wow. That's a question everybody's been trying to answer. I need to be there. I want to hear my own black God is. I've got to be there for that. Well, how much does it cost? Donations are accepted? Oh, I can definitely do that. That way I can bring my whole family. Well, how do I get more information about this? Oh, okay. So I got to call 267-205-1570 or 215-236-7410. Let me go over that one more time to make sure I got it right. 267-205-1570 or 215-236-7410. I got it. Man, so you said the Irritated Genie of Warren Horizon live in the Philadelphia, live in Philly on Saturday, May 25th. I gotta be there. As a matter of fact, as they say on Warren Horizon, gotta be.
Black Power family, I want you to get on this joint and speak from the soul, bro.
Dear white supremacy, you thought that you could finish me, but my elders told me you're my motherfucking enemy. Sit down in energy to come at you relentlessly, and I won't give up till there's justice for what you did to me. Crush you like a centipede, blessed with the strength, smarts, and the speed, and the program to end this misery. Turn my woman against me, and now she look at me like I don't respect her and can't protect the seeds. Ignorance and division is what religion breeds. And my mind is deeper than all the 7 seas. So with my 9, I creep up and all you'll ever see is dead crackers click-clacking the deadly melody. No childish ways, so my violent ways make me put my life on the line before I die in the cage. Look for truth in the sky, you can lie in the grave. Either die from AIDS or die from a gauge. Either fight for freedom or die as a slave. I send you back from whence you came because your mind's in the cave. I denounce your Nazism and your Zionist ways. I speak the truth through my words and what I jot on the page. Yeah, this cracker said I was laid off, then he broke out and he played golf. Stress got me plotting, killing Jews like Adolf. White supremacy, gay all the black president voting. I was hesitant cause he ain't picked to represent the red, black, green, the colors I bleed. I keep fighting for my seeds for as long as I breathe. I'm supposed to be mean, but I'm all of my dean. Got me taking shots of tequila and rolling up weed. Would you sell your dignity and risk it all for your dreams? I only roll with the strong, the hand of God intervene. Told me we cut from different fabric, others tore from the seams. Giving you food for thought, you get it raw from the king. I sent you minerals, I'm giving you no pork or no wings. This is all alkaline, I never rhyme for the bling. Let's go. Damn. Yo, I can feel it in my soul, like, yo, like,
Peace and welcome to the Message to the Black Fam program. I am your host, Angela Freeman, here on War on the Horizon Radio. Today we're going to have a very interesting show. We're going to be talking about suicidal tendencies in the black community. And that doesn't always mean you trying to, taking a gun and pulling the trigger yourself. We do this in many, many different ways. So we're going to be talking about some of that. But before we get too far into it, I do have a few announcements to make. The first one, if you heard the commercial coming in, War on the Horizon will be in Philly this Saturday, May 25th at the Shanghai City Cultural Center at 4 p.m. So if you are anywhere in the area, you definitely want to go and support War on the Horizon. They'll be doing Where's Your Black God? So that's going to be a very, very good lecture. Be sure to stop by and tell everybody hello. Second thing, I've been looking at some of the YouTube comments on my page, and some of y'all seem to be a bit confused. I know that for a long time, War on the Horizon has been male dominated, and so we have some sisters now, and people are kind of getting us confused. So just to break down, I am Angela Freeman. Of course, my show comes on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday right now, from 7 to 9 p.m. No need to say more. You're listening to me. Yaya, Sister Yaya, is one of the newest members in the War on the Horizon family. Her and the Sovereign Haiti Initiative. But Sister Yaya comes on Sundays, every other Sunday, from 7 to 9. So we are actually two different sisters. And then also I uploaded some of Sister Nefertari's old programs. Now she doesn't have a program actively at this point, but I did upload a bunch of her programs on YouTube just because that is a very powerful sister. And so for everybody who has looked at those videos, as you can tell, you love her just as much as we do. She's not on currently, but you can hear her on the YouTube channel. So we are actually three different sisters. We are not the same people. A lot of you guys are thanking Yaya for my shows and thanking me for Yaya's shows. So yes, there is more than one sister now on War on the Horizon. So keep a lookout for that, and please support everyone's program, and hopefully we can even pull some more sisters on board as we find them. I did want to announce, I know usually my program comes on every other Tuesday. We're going to be doing something new starting in June, just for a short period of time. We're going to do the God's Gift Summer Series. So the program, instead of every other week, will be on every single week, Tuesdays from 7 to 9. So you want to tune in for that. You still have plenty of time to get your book. So if you have not got the book yet, go on and get it. We're going to kick it off on June 4th. We're going to be going over chapters 1 and 2, and my guest will be the Irritated Genie of Southeast. And y'all know when we get together, we tend to not act right. Neither one of us has very much act right, and it just magnifies when we get together. So go on and get your book, read chapters 1 and 2, and we will start to go over that. Men, do not feel like because we're doing the God's Gift series, you shouldn't listen or you can't call in. We definitely still want to hear from you, because really we're talking about relationships and how to relate to each other. So, you know, you may hear something that you think is true. You may hear something that you don't think is true. Call in, be part of this, because it's really all about you. The title of the book is God's Gift, How to Be a Good Black Woman to a Strong Black Man. So if you think I'm giving out some bad information, go on and call me on it. I haven't heard that yet, but it's the first time for everything. Or if you just want to say that, you know, you agree with what you're hearing, call in too, because a lot of times women really don't understand or believe how simple it can be to please a man and the things that you want. We tend to think that everybody thinks like we do. So sometimes it's good to hear from another brother, you know, exactly what is on the minds of men and what men want. I want to thank Sister Nandi from Nandi's Knowledge Cafe for allowing me to host War on the Horizon this weekend. I do want to thank everybody for coming out. I know there was a lot of events over the weekend. We had some Malcolm X celebrations, and we had a natural hair function the same day. So there was a lot going on. And so to everybody that came out, I definitely want to thank you. I think that you probably made the best choice to be where you were. We had a ball. It was a lot of fun. I think by the end of the weekend, they probably didn't really want to leave. I didn't want them to leave. My house is all quiet now. I wish they could just move in my attic. We had a fun time. So much fun that we're going to try to get them back here in October. So if you missed it, you may get another chance to come and witness it. If they do come back in October, they'll be doing Mind Your Black Business too. And of course, I will be there signing books as well, so you'll get to see me. So a big thank you to everybody who came out and supported that free event that we hosted. I definitely appreciate that. Another announcement is that for anybody who reads my blog, I know a lot of my listeners listen to the show. They found out about my show through my blog. Just know that I did go on and get a new and improved website. The address is authorangela.freeman.com, and I had to do that just to support some of the things I was doing. When I started off, I was just blogging, just random thoughts here and there. Some of the blog posts were good. Some of them were just letting you know what was going on with me or whatever. So I really needed to get a better format, make it look a little bit more professional, just step it up a little bit, because it's grown now from being a blog to me having a radio station and books and all kinds of stuff. So it was really, really time. So for anybody who, is wondering where are the updates, what's going on with the old blog, from now on, check out authorangela.freeman.com. I'll keep you up to date on whatever's going on with me. You can purchase books there. Any books that you buy from that site will be autographed. I post all my radio programs there now, and I'm going to keep actually 2 separate blogs, one for just advice kind of stuff and another one for recipes. I'll be updating the recipes from time to time. So I think that is about it. Oh, you know what? One other thing, because I keep hearing people ask me, when is the quote-unquote cookbook coming out? So I did just want to let you guys know it's been out for a minute. Where have you been? Conscious Entertaining has been out for probably about a month or a month and a half now, and it does have a lot of recipes in it, about 40 to 50 recipes. They're meat-free, soy-free, and nut-free, so it's good for anybody with food allergies. But the main premise of it is entertaining, how to entertain at home, make your home a more inviting place, and just how to not be isolated so much when you're conscious, how to still have a social life and do positive things. And there are a bunch of recipes in there. So for everybody that's been patiently waiting for my cookbook, it's been out. You can buy it on War on the Horizon. It's been on Amazon, and now you can buy it at authorangela.freeman.com. So have at it. All right, so I think that's all my announcements today. The way the show came about, I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this week. I had the domestic abuse show, my last show, Domestic Violence, which actually was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. That was a pretty deep show. If you didn't see it, catch the replay on YouTube. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that. But a couple weeks ago, I went out to start working in my garden. Detroit stays colder longer than most places, so it had just got to the point where I could start weeding and planting and putting new mulch down and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm getting dressed to go out there, and I hear sirens going by my house, which is not a abnormal thing. There's a fire station right around the corner, and I live in the hood, so somebody always burning something up or car accidents or whatever, so I didn't pay it much mind. And I went out to start weeding and getting ready to plant some stuff, and somebody walked by and said, "Do you know what's going on?" And I said, "No, I'm not sure." Well, I get inside and just happen to look at the news online or whatever, and find out that a mother had her baby in the back seat, and we have a lot of stop signs here, but nobody obeys them ever. So there's always traffic accidents and crazy stuff, probably at least once a month or once every 2 months. So it was a mother this time who decided she didn't need to stop at a stop sign, and she sped through it and crashed into a van. I don't know if she had the baby strapped in or how it happened. I'm assuming probably not. But the baby actually flew out of the car and landed in somebody's yard face first. the man got out of the van and did mouth to mouth on the baby, and the baby ended up being all right. He ended up having to leave the scene because people were like coming out strapped and, angry, not knowing what was going on, thinking he was at fault, ready to do something to him. So he went down the street, called the police, told him what had happened and where he was and everything so that he wouldn't get accused of a hit and run. But it just kind of, it bothered me because I'm always seeing crashes, like literally, like all the time people are crashing, especially at the intersection right by my house. And so I'm like, what is wrong with people that they don't obey traffic laws? I mean, basic common sense stuff. If you don't care about yourself, at least care about the other people. There's a lot of vacant streets and things like that in Detroit, but there are still people living there. So if you're not going to value yourself, at least value others. And I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? If you don't value yourself, you can't value others. And so much of what we endure is because we do not value ourselves at all. And a lot of times we look at white people and, they always committing suicide when the going gets hard and they can't cope with life at all. All you have to do is just like lose a job and they killing the whole family. They cannot cope with life at all. And we joke about that a lot. But we don't look at us. And are we suicidal? Do we have suicidal tendencies? And do those just come out in different ways? We may not pull the trigger to our own head, but are we doing things purposely to put ourselves in a position where we could lose our life? And obviously we are. So I started thinking about that after the last accident. And it reminded me of a part of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, the book, where Dr. Joy was talking about this. And I'm going to read a little bit from this book to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about how we can commit suicide sometimes without even being the active participant, without actually being the one to do it. She relates this to something she calls vacant esteem, not low self-esteem. It's actually beyond that. It's actually vacant esteem, where it's just not there at all. She says, so what are the signs of vacant esteem? What are some of the behaviors and attitudes associated with it? Consider this real-life example. In the summer of 1992, two teenage boys, call them Carl and Dominic, got into an argument outside of a local high school in Portland. As onlookers watched, the argument, typically about nothing important, escalated until Carl pulled out a gun and pointed it at Dominic's face. The muzzle was no more than a foot from Dominic's eyes. He remained perfectly still as he watched his adversary slowly pull the trigger. Click. The gun jammed. Dominic did not run. Dominic did not attack. Instead, he said angrily, "Do you think I'm afraid to die? I ain't afraid to die." One of the witnesses ran to call the police as Carl worked at unjamming his gun. Someone screamed for Dominic to run, as once again Carl pointed it at Dominic's head and pulled the trigger. Click. Jammed again. Still Dominic didn't move. Again Carl worked to unjam his gun, and for the third time he raised it up to Dominic's face and pulled the trigger. Click. Jammed again. The fourth time the gun went off. Dominic was rushed to the hospital. The bullet went through his jaw. Miraculously, he survived. Most people look upon this event as an attempted murder, when in fact they witnessed another suicide attempt by a young black man. Too many young black men are looking to die, and while there is little glory in putting a bullet in your own head, there is much glory in being killed in a shootout with rival gang members. These are desperate young men believing that there is no hope for a future. They neither think nor care about their lives a year from now, let alone 5, 10, or 15. Few of them expect to live past their early 20s. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When we're talking about our especially the younger generation and how they're tearing up our neighborhoods, and we're saying, what's wrong with these people? What's going on? What's going on is they don't care. What's going on is a lot of them have a death wish. What's going on is a lot of them don't want to live. They would like to commit suicide, but they're either too scared to do it, or they know they'll be looked at as a punk if they do it. So they put themselves in situations to have unfortunate things happen to them. This really hit home for me because I've seen this from both sides. Years ago, probably coming up not quite 10 years, not quite a decade ago, I had a cousin, and he wasn't an angel, but he wasn't, hardcore bad either. He was lured into, the glitz and glamour of the street life, but he wasn't really doing anything hardcore. He was about to start college the next day, and he had walked up to the corner store to get something and was shot. He managed to walk about a block and a half home to his front porch. My aunt was out there, and he actually died in his mother's arms on the front porch the day before he was set to start college. Stupid stuff like that. Now, apparently, he was not the one they meant to shoot, but still being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong crowd, and I'm sure he knew what the wrong crowd was, who they were, because he was not naive. Instead of turning around and going home, you probably speak to these people, you say what's up, you hang around, knowing that at any time it could escalate, I should say, into something serious. And that's exactly what happened. So my aunt lost her only son, and my uncle too. My uncle's from Liberia, which was a very, very war-torn area, and came over here to raise his children and ended up losing one anyway. So he could have saved the trip. So I've seen it from that perspective, of losing somebody, and I've also seen it from another perspective. I'd say maybe 4 years ago, my nephew had just had a little baby girl. Pretty little girl. Prettiest little girl you've ever seen. And so he was happy, and we were excited and, overjoyed. He had a rough childhood. He was very angry for good reason. He didn't have the best parents in the world by any stretch of the imagination. And so about 2 or 3 weeks after the birth of his child, some police knock at his door. And, of course, they let him in, and come to find out that a few years before that, before he had turned 18, or maybe he had just turned 18, he had robbed somebody and shot him, killed him for nothing. A couple dollars, like $30 or something like that. Nothing major. But even, not that there's a price on life anyway, but just stupid stuff. And it goes on and on and on like this, either it's kill or be killed. And I really didn't know how to feel, because I'm like, okay, if he didn't kill somebody, somebody may have killed him. With my cousin, if he didn't get killed, would he have killed somebody? I don't think he would have, but you never know really what somebody's doing. When it's family, they only going to show you the good part. But this is what's going on. Constantly, we put ourselves in dangerous situations. We kill each other, and we don't care. We really don't care. A lot of the crime, I believe, is more than a cry for help. It's actually a suicide attempt. There was another story of a brother who claims that he was my kindergarten boyfriend. I don't really believe it, because I don't remember, and I think I would remember my first boyfriend. But he claims he was my first boyfriend in kindergarten. And he was a very, very talented brother. He used to play snare in the band, just rocked it. He was excellent. Our high school closed, and so we went our separate ways. I went to one high school, he went to another, and I hadn't heard anything about him in years. And one day I'm watching the news, and there's a standoff in another city about 2 hours away, and I knew it had to be something serious because they were broadcasting it where I was, and it wasn't even in my city. So there was some brother having a standoff with the federal agents. And the next thing I know, they say that he had committed suicide. He had shot himself in the head to avoid getting caught by the police. And they show a picture, and it's the guy that I was supposedly my kindergarten boyfriend, and who I had went to school with off and on ever since. What was going on in his mind to put himself in that situation where he was doing that type of crime, that people would be after him like that? Where was the value for life? Where was the self-esteem? Where was him thinking that, this quick money is not worth it? I've seen this happen to other people. I know this isn't going to end well. I'm just not going to do it. We do things like this all the time. We take stupid chances. A lot of drug use. I could see if you were like doing drugs back in the 70s or 80s when it was like the cool thing to do for a little while. But everybody in 2000s knows that drugs are not good. Even weed. You don't know what they're putting in it. It's not pure. You don't know what they're lacing it with. But we still take these chances with our life and with our health. For why? For what? Do we want to live? Do we value our own lives? Or are we secretly committing suicide? Alcohol, drunk driving. I don't know too many black people who have not gone to a club, had some drinks, probably way too many, and got in the car and felt that like they were okay to go home, putting themselves and everybody else on the road in danger. Why? Why do we do these things? And this is what I really would like people to call in and explain to me or give me your input on where is our self-esteem? Why are we so willing to risk our lives over stupid stuff? The dial-in number is 760-569-7676, and the participation code is 948656#. That's 948656. Make sure you hit that pound button. There was another story, and it was a really, really tragic story back in 1992. There was a brother who was prom king. Very handsome brother on the football team, very popular. Everybody loved him. Prom was over with. He graduated, got his diploma. He was set to go to college, had a scholarship. And so he was partying after graduation, celebrating. They were drinking, of course, too young to be drinking, but you know, it is what it is. Don't nobody pay attention to those laws. So he's drinking with his friends, and they decide to hop this fence and go to this community center. They had a pool. They were just partying, having a good time, and the last words people remember him saying was, "I must be drunk. I shouldn't even be doing this. I can't swim." So he gets in the pool with him and a bunch of drunk friends who I guess is not paying attention to the fact that this big, strong black man don't know how to swim, and he drowns, leaving a family behind, sister, mother, a whole school of people who loved him to death. He had all the potential in the world to do whatever he wanted to do. But one bad decision ended it for him. Now, did he go in there thinking, I want to die? Probably not. He had everything to live for. But bad choices, being willing to gamble with your life. We do this kind of stuff all the time. It's very, very unhealthy. Very unhealthy. To not think about your life and to make some of the stupid, stupid choices that we make. I've noticed a lot of sisters now getting in the cars with complete strangers, and that is amazing to me, because that's something that would scare me to death. I would never even think about doing it. I don't get in the cars with people I know. But my husband will be out somewhere, and some young girl, oh, where you going? Can I get a ride? Don't know my husband from anybody. He's like, no, sister, I'm married. What, don't matter, I just want to go around the corner. What kind of brother do you think is going to take you around the corner? That's why there's so many women in Detroit ending up in people's trunks right now. Because nobody has told us to value ourselves, and really nobody should have to tell us to value ourselves. We should want to survive. We should want to live to see the next day. A lot of us have children, and we will go out and get in the car, go home with somebody we don't even know. We will have sex with somebody we don't even know. And then next day you see us on the news in somebody's trunk or in an alley or missing, and nobody ever finds us. And your child is growing up with no parent. No sane man is going to give some chick he doesn't know a ride home. Too many things could happen. He could get accused of something. It could be a setup for a robbery. I mean, it could be a lot of things. It's not too many quote unquote nice guys who are going to let these things happen, who are just going to take you home. But here you are, not even being asked to take home, but begging somebody else to take you home instead of walking. If you got somewhere, you can get yourself home. Women is stupid. It doesn't make any sense unless you want to die. Another thing we don't take into account is that anything that damages the community is an act of suicide. It's self-inflicted genocide. Genocide is suicide because we're killing ourselves. We are a whole. We are a collective. I've noticed, and I really wondered, I wasn't sure if I was going to touch on this at all because it's very probably politically incorrect coming from me, but the whole dark skin, light skin thing. I don't like touching on it because that's something that usually we hear from dark skinned people, and light skinned people are just supposed to be quiet and act like it doesn't affect us at all. But I didn't know the difference between dark skin and light skin because there's not many light skinned people in my family. I grew up around all dark skinned people, loved dark skinned people, didn't know that, really I could see a difference in my skin tone, but didn't know that made a difference until I was introduced to it by darker skinned people calling each other, African booty scratchers and monkeys and black this and that. And I've noticed that it seems to me a lot of darker skinned people have taken that self-hatred and started actually trying to breed out the black. When I was young, there wasn't a lot of light skinned people in my family. Now there's a lot. And I've noticed that in other people's families. There's a lot. And I think the tendency with lighter skinned people, because, we catch hell too. A lot of times it's overlooked because people think that we get some kind of benefit from it or something like that. But we catch a lot of hell too. And usually we end up getting with darker skinned people so that our children will darken up a little bit and they won't have to go through what we went through. But darker skinned people are doing the reverse a lot of times and trying to breed the black out of the race purposely, which is definitely not a good thing. That's suicide. That's genocide. We really have to stop this. And I realized when I was growing up, it wasn't a lot of times in my case. Now, I'm not saying this is true across the board. A lot of times it wasn't the lighter skinned people causing these problems. A lot of times it was the browner skinned people who kind of wanted to be light, who would really, really let the darker skinned people have it. And a lot of times the darker skinned people would take it out on us, but it was crazy because they would be okay with white people. They would be okay with white people, but they would have a problem with the light skinned sister who really is just there trying to be themselves, not thinking that they're better or any crazy stuff like that. So we have to work on that. Light skinned people definitely have some self-hatred going on. In many ways, sometimes wanting to be darker, wanting to be blacker, not feeling black enough. And sometimes it is the, being one step away from being white, wanting to go that way. So it can be either or. But with the darker skinned people, I think that we really need to work on this because the darker skinned people are the ones who still have that melanin. They are the ones who, through selective breeding, can keep the race going, can keep us alive, can keep us radiant. We need that. Now, I'm not saying, because somebody sent me a message today asking about mate selection and saying, they broke up with somebody because they were light skinned. I'm not saying do that. We all have our preferences, but I think it is really silly to date somebody based on skin complexion. With as hard as it is to find a mate nowadays, we need to be worried about complementarity and do we get along well? Do we have respect? All that. Skin color should be the least of it. So I'm not saying that, but I am saying that dark-skinned people should not purposely get with a light-skinned person thinking, well, my child's life will be easier. Horrible, horrible thing. Another thing, don't go up to light-skinned people or Mexicans or whatever, always talking about how pretty their children are, how pretty they are, when your dark-skinned baby is sitting right there looking at you, wondering, dang, I'm not pretty. Don't do that. We are still inflicting this on our children, whether we know it or not. So be very, very careful about that. I'm not going too far into the dark skin, light skin thing. Like I said, that's something I really don't like to touch, but I do see that being a problem. I've heard plenty of times darker skinned women saying, I'm not getting with him, he's too black. I've heard black men say, I'm not getting with her, she's too black. I don't want a dark skinned baby. What's wrong with you? I mean, really, come on, seriously. That's another form of suicide/genocide. Promiscuous behavior. Not only are you putting yourself at risk of all kinds of nasty diseases and just horrible things. I say all the time, I used to work for a health insurance company. If you only heard some of the things that these people told me that they had went through, the things that were going on with their bodies, some of y'all will calm down. And I'm not just talking to women. I'm talking to men too. Y'all need to be sexually responsible too. Because you're bringing a lot of diseases and nastiness into the Black community, which a lot of that will affect your children. A whole lot of it will affect your children. And you're destabilizing the Black family. Do you really think that you're going to have a stable family with 5 different babies' mothers? Women, do you really think you're going to have a stable family with all these different babies' fathers? A lot of men don't want to be bothered with you when there's other men actively in your life, and a lot of men don't want to be bothered with paying for somebody else's child. So you're already stacking the odds against you. Hopefully you'll find that good mate who sees past all that, because children are not burdens, children are blessings. But it's all of the baggage that comes with them because of irresponsible decision making. And once you destroy the Black family, and it's pretty much been destroyed at this point, what do? It's suicide. It's genocide. Now I got to worry about your child coming to kill my child because your child is full of self-hatred and suicidal and doesn't respect anything that looks like him. We really need to start looking and thinking about the things that we're doing, because we're doing a whole lot of damage. We're destroying the family, we're destroying our health, and it's ridiculous. A lot of diseases now, Black people didn't even used to get. You didn't hear about Black people getting herpes and AIDS and stuff, and even though I think AIDS is a hoax. But you didn't hear about us getting these things back in the 70s and 80s. That was like white people stuff. But now we have loose morals, and we're acting more degenerate than white people a lot of times. Not completely yet, but we're getting pretty daggone close. And so we're suffering from all of the things that we suffer from. All of these social and sexual diseases that are coming straight from them. A lack of conscious marriage. That's a problem for me. And I've been noticing that a lot. That we do not want to get married. And again, that is part of destabilizing the Black family. And without the Black family, there is no Black community. Without a Black community, there's no nation. So how in the hell are you a nationalist and your family situation is jacked up? I mean, we have some of the most jacked up family situations I've ever seen. We need to clean it up, seriously. If you've been with somebody for years and you got babies and all that, set a good example. How do you expect them to grow up and have good morals if you can't do it? If you still treating their mama like a side piece, if you ain't going out and working to support mama, support the children, what are you teaching your children? And then we wonder why conscious children act so crazy. Because half the time they have no family institution. They're coming up the same way any of these children on the street are coming up. The only difference is the children on the street haven't heard the message yet. So they may be open to it. But your children have heard the message and they've seen how you act and they know that you're a hypocrite. So they don't want anything to do with it. They're completely turned off. Why? Because of you and your hypocrisy and your inability and immaturity that you can't even give them a family. A decent, stable family structure. But yet you talking about nation building. You can't even build a home. Come on, people. We need to do better. And then some of these same people will talk about decency. How can you get up there and talk about decency without having your home intact? You can't. You're a hypocrite. And everybody sees that. Not everybody, because there's always somebody stupid enough to follow somebody that's not practicing what they preach. And I'm not saying that you have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I got a lot of work to do. But at least I'm making an effort. I'm striving towards it. And we should all be doing that. We should all be doing that. Again, if you're not building a stable family, you are, in fact, committing suicide. Because you're ensuring that your legacy is going to end quickly. Your children are not going to be a reflection of you. They're probably going to get sucked into everything that we've talked about so far. And it's going to be ugly. So that's another thing. As far as children, letting fags around your children. And I was really going to go into this during the roundtable this week. Unfortunately, we had to cancel it because we had a lot of people scheduled to be on, but some kind of way, that maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Everybody has something to do that weekend, so everybody ended up having to cancel, except for me, and I ain't running the show by myself. It's a roundtable. I need people. So not going to have the roundtable this month. We'll be rescheduling. But we were going to be talking about fags and the women who love them. And I guess we could say that with men, because men don't have a habit of hanging around like the butch dykes, like women. Women will take some faggot and they'll be our best friend and we'll take advice from them and all kinds of craziness. Men don't do that. They don't like have a girl that's like they dude or whatever. They don't hang around with no butch dyke. But y'all do like lesbians. A whole bunch of y'all like some lesbians. Fags around children. Now, if you have a fag in your family, and you love them and it is what it is, that's one thing. You know, that's your relationship with him. But you should under no circumstances be letting no faggots around your children. If that's not suicide to your legacy, I don't know what is. Complete and utter foolishness, suicide, genocide. You're teaching your children that that behavior is okay and acceptable. You're exposing them to all the fag germs, and believe me, there's a lot of fag germs. We think they're just having sex with the opposite sex and it's pretty much the same as us. No, they're not. There's a whole lifestyle that goes with that. They are so much more promiscuous than the average person. It's ridiculous. Matter of fact, I saw a study that said lesbians have more sex with men than heterosexual women do. And they're more likely to have high-risk sex. Like a lesbian, if they have sex with a man, a lot of times it'll be a gay man. So that's putting them at risk for all kinds of stuff. It's disgusting. The kind of sex that they have, and I'm not going to get into it because it will disgust you. But they go to ER having living things removed from body orifices and all kinds of stuff. It's not cute. It's very unhealthy, very germy. You're letting your children around that and exposing them to the possibility of being molested as well. Not a good idea. That's something that we need to get together. Men and women, keep the fags and lesbians away from your children. That's another thing that we can be very hypocritical on. Another one is ignoring pedophiles. This blows my mind because, you know, to me it's common sense. If you know somebody has molested you, you do not have children around that person, especially your children. But for some reason in our families, we don't practice that. There'll be somebody that we know is a pedophile, women especially. Women are bad for this. Somebody that we know is a pedophile, they probably touched us or molested us at some point, and we'll send our children right over to grandma's house on the holidays, let them be right around that pedophile, sit on his lap, leave him alone, maybe let them babysit him, thinking in our minds they ain't gonna do nothing. What the hell is wrong with you? If anybody's listening is doing that dumb stuff, I mean, I really don't know what to say. I shouldn't have to tell you that that's inappropriate. And I shouldn't have to tell anybody listening. Men, if that's happening in your family, I shouldn't have to tell you that that's inappropriate and maybe you need to do something about it. It could be one of your boys. One of your boys, like these little 16 and 17-year-old girls, maybe you should do something about it. I saw on a page today on Facebook, this dude, and he's real unstable anyway, the dude that does this page, had a picture of a little girl graduating from school. And he said, damn, she fine as hell. And I posted under the picture, how old is she? Just a question. I wasn't disrespectful at all. I said, how old is she? And the dude came back and cussed me completely out. So, well, I mean, can't you just celebrate that she's made an accomplishment and this and that? No, bruh, that ain't what you said. You didn't say, oh, it's good she's graduating. You said she's fine as hell. If she's graduating from high school, she ain't nothing but 16, 17, 18 years old. And what I was hoping in my mind, because this dude writes ignorant as hell, so I'm thinking maybe he's a teenager or something like that. He didn't say that. He didn't say, well, I'm 20 and she's like 18, so I found her attractive. He is just cussing me out, told me to F off, and who am I to talk to a man like that? Oh, I'm well able to talk to a man like that and ask you how old a little girl is when you over here making her a sexual object, talking about your troubleshooting melanated underachievement. And of course, those comments got deleted later, but last time I checked, the picture was still up. People do this because we're not checking them. We're not checking them when they say inappropriate things. I'm not saying that he's a pedophile. I'm saying that's damn inappropriate. Damn inappropriate, unless he is in that age group, which he could be, because like I said, he sound pretty ignorant half the time. So we need to start pulling each other's cards, brother. If you see one of your friends and a little girl's walking down the street and he's following her with his eyes or making some kind of comment, you need to tell him that's not cool. And if it's severe, you probably shouldn't even be hanging around him, because something about that dude is sick. And if you have a daughter, you think he ain't gonna look at your daughter the same way he's looking at that person? You so big and bad because he knows that you'll do something. He ain't looking at your daughter the same way. That pervert's looking at your daughter the same way and will do the same thing given a chance, because nowadays black people have no morals. Ignoring pedophiles, another form of suicide. Another thing we can look at is diet. Our diets are horrible. Absolutely terrible, and we know it. I'm not saying that everybody need to be vegetarian. I'm vegetarian, but that's because I live in the United States and the meat is contaminated and horrible. If I lived in another country somewhere and had access to fresh farm-raised meat, I might not be vegetarian. I don't know. So I'm not saying that you have to be vegetarian, but I am saying we need to know what we're eating. I am saying we need to learn how to read labels. I am saying we need to learn how to cook. We shouldn't be microwaving our food. I don't own a microwave. I don't own a microwave. I had a brother over the weekend want a plate and want me to heat up a plate. Brother, I'm doing it on the stove. I don't own a microwave. I'm not going to radiate your food. I'm not going to feed you that. That's not going to come out of my home. We need to start learning these things. And women, if you don't know how to cook something healthy, go on and cop that Conscious Entertaining. It is available, like I said. Cop that. Or if you don't have the money to cop that, then get online and look for some healthy recipes. There's YouTube videos that will teach you how to cook. Men too, because this is survival. If you don't have a woman, or if your woman can't cook, you learn how to cook and teach her. Our diets are absolutely killing us. And then you get to the next wave of suicide, which is medicine. Pharmaceuticals. There's no difference to me between a pharmacist and the brother on the street. They are both selling drugs that will kill you. One has a license to do it, and the other one's just doing it to get by. One of them knows exactly what his medicine is going to do to you and doesn't care, and the other one has some clue, but he really doesn't have control over because his medicines aren't regulated. We self-medicate as a form of suicide, and we get prescription drugs as a form of suicide. Instead of changing what we know needs to be changed. We know if we get high blood pressure or diabetes, you can fix that with diet and exercise, but we don't have the willpower to do it. We rather pop a pill. We don't realize that a lot of times we can do stuff natural. You have high blood pressure and it's not that bad. Fix your diet and get you some hibiscus tea. Hibiscus tea tastes good. It looks like Kool-Aid. It's red. I always have some hibiscus tea brewing somewhere in here. You can put some sugar in it. It tastes like Kool-Aid. Get some hibiscus tea. Lower that blood pressure. Get some other kind of herbal teas for different things. You have morning sickness, you're nauseous, get you some ginger tea. Your skin's broken out, get you some red clover tea. All kinds of herbs. We have these health food stores. We act like we're afraid to go in it. And not everything has to be expensive. Eating whole foods does not have to be expensive. We're more worried about getting new Jordans and getting new clothes than what we're putting into our body. Suicide. And a lot of y'all, before the show started, probably thinking you ain't suicidal. Some of us need to think again. Some of us are a little bit suicidal. We may not recognize it because it's not pulling a trigger, but it's making some very, very silly decisions and gambling with your life. Same thing as playing Russian roulette. If you would play Russian roulette, I would say you're suicidal. If you're on all these medications and diets and having sex with fags and all this kind of stuff, I'm going to still say you suicidal. It's the same way as playing Russian roulette. Something is going to get you and take you out. I'm going to go over a couple more before I go to the phone lines, because really I'm more interested in what you have to say than what I'm running off at the mouth about. And I know you probably could add a lot more to this. The gender war is one of the biggest forms of suicide / genocide that we're facing right now. Men are becoming the new women. Y'all are acting so womanly and effeminate, is disgusting. Y'all argue like women. Y'all get emotional like women. Y'all starting to blame women for everything that goes wrong. It's really ridiculous. It really is. I see a lot of y'all on YouTube. I see some of the stuff y'all respond to some of my videos. I see it. Some of it's vicious. Some of it's so vicious I think some of y'all are fags. And then I got the good brothers too. I'm not talking about the nice, well-balanced brothers just having a debate. I'm talking about some of the ones that go a bit extreme. Not very manly at all. And I would venture to say that a lot of your frustration that you blame on black women is not really black women's fault at all. Not at all. And I'm going to say this because I'm balanced. Y'all hear me talk about black women all the time. So don't call me feminist and none of that BS. Look, a lot of your frustration is because of your lack of manhood. Period. Your lack of manhood. Your failure to provide. Your failure to protect. Your lack of desire to protect. You don't even want to protect us. Most of y'all, you don't want us to put on clothes. If we put on clothes, you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to see what you want to see. Y'all want us on display. Y'all don't care if men all over the world take advantage of us or if we're safe or what. You don't care. If something happened to me right now, if I got attacked walking down the street, 9 times out of 10, if it's a bunch of young brothers there, I might as well throw in the towel. Ain't nobody gonna help me. The only person that might help me is a white man driving by. Sad. I can't count on y'all for protection. Now, I could say if you like 35 or over, a lot of them brothers still got some manhood in them. But the younger brothers, horrible. Horrible. And even some of the older ones. Some of y'all, I'm not letting all y'all off the hook because some of y'all ain't no kind of protection either. A lot of times, you are the people we need protection from. You are tearing down our community, raising hell. And I know y'all have pain. I know why you're doing it. But honestly, I'm not going to say I don't care why you're doing it. I want to solve the problem. But I'm not making excuses for why you do it. Because you're traumatizing us. Who is, for the most part, raping us? Who is, for the most part, beating us up? Who is, for the most part, molesting us? Who are we in fear of? Your biggest threat 9 times out of 10 is a white man. Our biggest threat is you. And then you wonder why we don't respect you. And you wonder why we aren't these good women to you. And you wonder why our heads are so completely messed up. Take a look in the mirror. Are you really frustrated at us? Are you really frustrated at black women? Are you frustrated at your own lack of manhood? Are you frustrated that some of these is coonstress a word? Well, it's going to be a word. Some of these coonstresses are stepping outside the race because they see other people producing, or they falsely, stupidly believe that some other race is going to protect them. Of course, they always find out later that ain't the case. Because they don't see you standing up and being strong. Not enough of you. Not enough of you. And I'm surrounded by some strong, strong black men. So I know that they're out there, but not enough. Not enough to make me feel safe and protected. Not at all. So we need to end this gender war. And that's one of the reasons I wrote God's Gift, because I want the women to do their part. And that's who I can tell. But brothers, y'all need to do your part too. Because your stuff stinks. Your stuff stinks too. I'm tired of hearing all the time, black women, black women, black women. Some of the things coming from black men are absolutely horrible. I have a couple other things on the list, but I'm going to stop right now because I'm tired of running my mouth. And I'm going to go to the phone lines and see what kind of feedback I'm getting, what you have to add to the pot here. Again, the call-in number 760-569-7676. Participation code 948656#. If you are just listening, just let me know you're just listening. I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to force you to talk. Well, I might force you to talk if I know you. But normally I just say, okay, and move on to the next person. But just let me know if you're just listening. All right. 5760, you are live on War on the Horizon. 5760. All right. I'm going to have to assume that you're just listening because you didn't tell me you're just listening. So again, everybody, we family here. If you're just listening, just let me know. That way I ain't standing on the phone waiting for you to say something for a million minutes. 2874, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Just listening.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. See, that's real easy. Just tell me you're just listening. 7730, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Lady Shabazz, can you get back to me in like 5 minutes? I'm doing something.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for listening, brother. All right, 0484, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Peace, sis. How you doing?
I'm good. Peace. How are you?
I'm good. This is Afia from Arkansas.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
And I'm really just listening too, but I do want to thank you again, like I always do, for writing God's gift, because you really homed in on a lot of topics the brothers have been trying to share with me for years, but I couldn't quite hear it from them through the aggression.
Yes, ma'am.
But and my arrogance probably. But thank you again, and I'm just listening, sis.
Okay, thank you for listening. And you know what? I've heard that a lot, and I want to let you know, too, everybody who's read God's Gift, you know, I didn't just wake up one day and write that book. I could write that book because everything that everybody's done, I ain't lived that long. But most of what y'all done, I've probably done, too. Some stuff slips out every now and then. If you listen to a radio broadcast, you might catch a little story here or there. So definitely, you know, I wasn't born knowing all that. That was trial and error. Most of those stories in the book are about my friends. There may be one or two in there about me. You have to research and find out for yourself. But never ever think that I'm just this wise person and I just woke up one day like, I have the answer. No, that was a lot of pain and suffering and insanity that took me to learn all of those things. So thank you for the support for everybody that's read that book. I'm glad I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And like I said, I'm hoping that will help in the gender war. I've done my part. I have been told by a brother that he is interested in doing a complimentary book for men. He wasn't sure men would read it, but I said, no, men have been asking me, you know, for this kind of book. There are some men who really want to know some simple things that they can do to make their relationship better, or even if it doesn't work and it doesn't instantly make their woman happy, at least they can know that they're doing the right thing. So that may be in the works. As soon as he's done with the project he's doing now, we may be having a male version of the book coming, which is great because this gender war thing is getting really, really ridiculous. My sister, how are you? Sister Yaya, you there? Oh, wait a minute. Think your line dropped. You're down here now. 1 second. You there, sis?
I'm here. How you doing, sister?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I really don't have a lot to say, you know, and I usually, you know, I always can find something to say. But I'm really enjoying your show. I tuned in a little teeny bit late. So I didn't hear everything that you covered, but I really like, you know, the fact that you brought up our diet and hating our gender by giving a thumbs up or an okay to people being homosexual and indulging in their own madness. You know, how that's a reflection of our own, you know, desire to not be here. We want to disappear, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate the show, sis. You're doing your thing, as always, and you know it. And, yeah, good show.
Thank you. And for anybody that tuned in at the beginning, what I was saying was, you know, I started talking about suicidal tendencies and that Black people, a lot of times, white people, when they get flustered or whatever, they'll just kill themselves and their whole family. They don't care. But we don't want to do that. So what we'll do is put ourselves in a lot of stupid, risky circumstances, be it crime, be it drunk driving, drugs, just making bad choices, knowing that the result could be death. And even if it's not on a conscious level, it may be even on a subconscious level, that non-existent self-esteem that a lot of us have, or a lot of us lack, really contributes to our decision-making process. So suicide for Black people might not always look the way we expect it to, but it's still there. So that was the premise of the very beginning of the program.
Okay, yeah, that's real talk, and it might even be, oddly enough or weirdly enough, how spiritual we are. We're not more prone, I don't think, and maybe some numbers that I don't know, but to like you said, to off ourselves. Or we're not walking up into elementary schools and shooting up a bunch of kids, but it's like we don't have the heart. We got enough sense to not kill ourselves outright like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we just chip away constantly, day to day, and chip away at everybody around us,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I definitely agree. But yeah, like I said, very good show, and I think it's definitely something that we as a people, no matter where we think we might be, how much we think we might know, we all know somebody Black who's not conscious, and so they don't love themselves. They don't know nothing to love about themselves in most cases. So this is a good show for all of us. Thanks a lot, Sister Shabazz.
Thank you. Okay, that was our sister Yaya. So for anybody that caught the beginning of the show, I was breaking down that we're not all the same person. I'm Angela Freeman. That's Sister Yaya. She comes on Sundays, and we don't have Sister Nefertari on the line, but her show is not current, but she is available on YouTube to listen to it, because those were some of the most powerful shows I've heard on War on the Horizon. So 3 different sisters. As you can tell, it's not like a digital underground Humpty Hump thing where I'm just putting on a different voice for you. We actually do have some other sisters on War on the Horizon who are very, very talented. All right. 1884, you're live on War on the Horizon. One 1884. All right, I will assume that you are just listening. 2569, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Abibi Fahodier, Sister Shabazz.
Abibi Fahodier, how are you?
I'm all right. This is Ali's cool child over here down here in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. How's everything down there in Tampa with the babies?
It's well. Everything is going well.
Good.
Listening to your show, I think that what I want to interject is, I think Dr. Bobby Wright and Dr. Amos Wilson kind of summed it up. I remember one time reading Dr. Bobby Wright said that suffering for us used to be a way of life. Now it has somehow turned into, a way of death for us. And I know he did a essay where he said that black suicide was like a political dynamic. And it was created by Watson and Skinner back in the 70s. It was supposed to be a special kind of like situation they created for us. So anytime, we manifest, that suicide, and he said black suicide and black homicide was 2 sides of the same coin, that basically both of them were to actualize that final solution that they had imposed for us. So what happens is they create that dynamic of that progression between the genders. They create, that necessity for us to, not eat properly. They create the necessity for us to make bad decisions where we don't, buckle up the baby and the baby can be hurt. They create that situation where we can pull a gun on one another and, allow somebody to pull the trigger 4 times in our face. But even in that situation, the one that was trying to kill a brother, he was committing suicide because he was trying to destroy a reflection of himself. And the one who, wasn't smart enough to move out the way and get away and say, I'm going to regroup for another day, he was committing suicide by proxy. So both of them are the same thing working in tandem. I know that in Black on Black Annihilation, Dr. Amos Wilson says, what happens is that the Black on Black assailant, what happens is the one that commits suicide, the dynamic is different because what happens, usually for us, we commit suicide between 24 and 30 at the beginning of our lives. And what we feel as if, it's some kind of actualization where we feel like, we're striking out against, racial and white supremacy, imperialism, and Euros. and maybe we're behaving like, those of us, those of our ancestors who, committed suicide by, going overboard, during the mental passage. But what happens is they're just misdirecting, that anger, as opposed to standing up and, facing racist white supremacy and Euros directly. They'll opt out. And what white folks do is they die at the end of their life when they feel like they've actualized all they can actualize at 80, 90 years old, and they have, basically use a death potential. White males will commit suicide then. But, both of them, postulate, and I believe it, that in both cases, I think that Dr. Bobby Wright laid it out. He was like, listen, this is what they implemented for us. And Dr. Wilson took it further and said, well, when we do actualize it, we are basically embodying, racial white supremacy and imperialism, and we basically are acting like them in blackface. And we want to, destroy either ourselves or a reflection of ourselves, but in both cases, they are, us killing us. And they're both suicide. So the term black homicide is definitely, it's a misnomer because, we are destroying reflections of ourselves. So I think what happens is, it goes again to what, Dr. Wilson said. He said, we have to study. We have to, study. We have to study to understand who we are in this world and our place. And we have to understand the pitfalls that are designed for us to take ourselves out. Because it seems as if, we are making these conscious decisions. But, again, Dr. Bobby Wright said, Watson and Skinner, they were developing these things back in the day for us to have these choices to play with. And now we seem to be making them, freely and of our own volition. But that's not the case. These are devices. These are the different situations and choices we've been given. And for whatever reason, because we're not taking the time to be analytical, we're not taking the time to be critical, we think that these things that these decisions we come up with are our own. We had a kid here in Tampa, he played for the Tennessee Titans. He was actually, he attended the high school that I was teaching at before I left and started our own school. And he went to the high school and killed himself. This happened, I want to say, this year. It happened this school year. And he went to high school, I don't want to give his name, but he went to high school and killed himself because he felt as if he wasn't going to make the team.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. So, but they realized everything was going well. There was no indication that they were going to release him. It was just something that he had came up, with in his mind. Now, I know, one of the things they've been saying with the NFL is that, the head trauma is allowing a lot of guys to commit suicide. I had a coach I played with when I played at USF, Coach Andre Waters. He played for 17 years in the NFL. He ended up committing suicide. And I know they say, the head trauma it has a direct link to the suicide. That's one of the things they're trying to find out. But, back to what you were saying, I just think that, we don't understand, when Skinner was talking about the rats and Pavlov was talking about them dogs, they referring to us. That's us. And, it's certain bells and whistles and certain conditioning that they're placing, for us, or they condition us to respond to certain bells and whistles certain ways. But at the end of the day, the final solution is for us to kill us, whether it be me killing you or me killing me.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. That's a very deep way to look at it. And that's kind of, not in those words, but I was kind of thinking that somewhat when I was saying, with my cousin and my nephew, it could have happened either way. They could have killed or be killed, either way it went. But what you're saying is absolutely true. You're killing a reflection of yourself. And a lot of times it's more conscious than we would like to admit. It's not always something in the back of our minds we don't know we're doing. We know what we're doing. You can tell by the vocabulary we use when we're about to kill somebody. We know what we're doing. So that was very, very deep and a very good addition to the conversation.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to, share that, and we appreciate the show down here. We appreciate the work that you guys are putting in, and keep getting information out to the people because we have to understand our brains never rest. Our brains never rest, and if we allow information to stop flowing in, important information, not misinformation, to stop pointing to our brains, we will be those dogs, we will be those rats, and we'll do whatever they want us to do. We'll behave the way they want us to behave. So we appreciate your show down here, and we enjoy the work that you guys put in at One Rising.
Thank you so much. A BB for Hodier. All right, and I'm going to be going back to the phone lines in just a second. 760-569-7676, participation code 948656. Hit the pound button. But he did make a lot of good points. And I can't go too far into this story because it's a friend of mine and I respect her privacy. But there is somebody, a friend of mine who, a very close family member of hers, suffered head trauma. And she has had a couple of experiences, very close calls, where she has tried to commit suicide. And it's been very, very close. Like if they wouldn't have found her, if they right when they did, she wouldn't be here anymore. So definitely protect yourself. Be very careful when it comes to head trauma because that can definitely happen. He's very, very true. What he said about wanting to kill a reflection of yourself. And that's why I was talking about vocabulary, because when we go to kill somebody, when we murder somebody, never do we say, I'm going to kill you, brother. What do we say? I'm going to kill you in. I'm going to kill you in. We want to kill that N word, which, according to us, the way we see that is another black person. A black person who has no value, no worth, just like us. So we might not kill ourselves, but we're going to get that in. Because if we don't have any value and he looks just like us, he don't have any value either. He's not loved either. He's not respected either. So he's worthless. Why should he live? Same thing. That's why on War on the Horizon, and it took me a while to get with this. I'm not going to lie. I didn't stop using the N-word right away. I've been a War on the Horizon fan since maybe 2009, 2010. I was still using it. I slowed down on the N-word, but I was still using the N-word for a long time, probably until about a year ago. And when I stopped using it, when I became a radio host, and I didn't want it to slip out sometimes, so I stopped using it completely. It totally changed how I see other black people. I get kind of disgusted now, almost sick when I hear people use that word. It totally changes my mood. I could be feeling one kind of way, and when I hear that word, I go and feel like completely different. My whole mood alters because I know what that word means and I know how we use it. And it's bad because we even use it for people that we like. That's one of the reasons I started using it. I would hang around like older dudes or whatever. I never had a lot of female friends, so I'd be hanging around older dudes and they'd be like, yeah, that little N-word right there. And it was like acceptance, or just like a love there, a sick love, but like, yeah, that instead of saying that little girl or my homie or whatever, yeah, little N-word. We need to stop that. And those of you, I know a lot of people still use the N-word. They just don't use it when they call in out of respect, but they still don't get it. Try to stop using that N-word for 3 months or so and see if you don't start feeling a difference. And as far as suicide, that's another thing with the story I told about my nephew. That was suicide, honestly, because, it took a while for him to go to trial. But when he did, he was facing the death penalty, and we did not know if they would spare his life. I was hoping that they would spare his life. He's not a monster. He was turning his life around, but, he did kill somebody, so I couldn't get mad at him if they did give him the death penalty. It would have been like, well, what can I say? But, I was hoping for leniency. But the fact that he did something to put himself at risk for the death penalty, suicide. Complete suicide. And then we don't think about what that does to other people, because he just went to trial like in January. So at that time I was like trying to, run the station. I was doing a lot of extra shows at the time and act like everything was okay and come on the air and be all happy and chipper, knowing that my oldest nephew, the boy I used to rock to bed and sing lullabies to, could be sentenced to death at any moment. We never stop and think about how that affects the people that love us and that care about us. Maybe we don't think that anybody loves us and cares about us. Maybe we're not open to receive or feel that love. Maybe we're just not thinking. I don't know. But it's suicide, but it affects so many other people, because when you're dead, but the people who are still living are the ones that are left to deal with that. I remember going to an article about the case and seeing some white man saying he deserved it. and really having to fight the urge to go off on this white man because you're the person who set this all in place. You're the person who brought us over here and put us in this condition where we do hate ourselves and each other and are suicidal. How dare you, of all people, make any comments? And then the only reason he probably did not get the death penalty is because his parents got up there and spoke on his behalf. And the things they said and the stories they told blew my mind. I mean, I knew his parents wasn't about nothing. That ain't no secret. They had him when they were teenagers. They were both ignorant, both Negroes. And, you know, I've always known they weren't good parents. I tried to do the best I could to counter that. But I was only 10 years older than him, so I couldn't do too much either. Was I 10 years older? Yeah, about 9 or 10 years older than him. But they got up there and they told these stories, the mother especially, about how, you know, they had separated, they were together off and on, about how she would be riding around and she'd have drugs in the baby's car seats, you know, to hide them from cops if she got pulled over and all this, using him for her little drug business. Like, how do you expect that child to grow up? If that's not suicide, what is? You're setting your child up for exactly what he got, to possibly lose his life, or to spend the rest of his life behind bars, for him to kill somebody else, because you're introducing him to that lifestyle in diapers. But black woman, you're the same one who wants to talk about how bad the fathers are. The fathers don't want to be around. The fathers don't want to be involved. Why don't we talk about some of the things that we do? Why don't we talk about some of the ignorant things that we do? Why don't we talk about how we talk to these children, how we give them no respect whatsoever, how hateful we are to these children, how we make irresponsible decisions, and a lot of times we don't know how to treat a man, so the man don't stay, or the man never made a commitment to us in the first place, so he has no obligation to stay, or he was cheating on us and had another family, and he's not going to give up his another family for you because he thinks that you're a hoe. Whether that's fair or not, no, it's not fair. But we want to talk about what happened to the father, what happened to you, black woman, and raising your children and showing them love and showing them the right way. It's been plenty of times in our history where black women have raised children by themselves and done a damn good job. So there's really no excuse nowadays. Oh, I don't get child support. Oh, there's no male figure around. So, no male figure around. Why ain't you doing a better job? You don't have anybody interfering. You can raise that child any way you want to without anybody having any say. You have complete control, black woman. Why aren't you doing a better job? Why are you setting your sons up to be criminals and murderers and thugs and faggots? Why? Uh-oh, lost a couple calls on that. Sorry, not really. I meant every word I said. What's going on, black woman? All right, we're going to go back to the phone lines right quick. 5209, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been listening to the show, and it's a couple points I want to hit on. I know one of them people may not agree on, but I'll say it anyway. The first one, the broad range of the show, the suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think that when people move out of when black people move out of the black neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
that is also a form of suicide. It's more of a social economic suicide, because more times than not, when they move out of the black neighborhood, they can move to the white neighborhood. And when they move to the white neighborhood, the reason they do that is because they're more affluent, more successful in what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So they take that image, that successful image of a black family or a person out the neighborhood. So now the kids that are left growing up in the neighborhood, they don't have that image, and they're not based to look up to the gangsters, thugs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is also a form of suicide. When black people tend to continue to see that the good life, just like I want to use to show the Jeffersons, moving on up to the east side to live with the white people, that it's not always good. You are committing suicide against your own race, because you're leading the children to look up to the degenerate in the neighborhood. You're taking that successful, affluent image of that black family and or black image hit on that you may not agree with, but you know what I'm saying. The mate selection, I think, is actually real because me, I'm a black man. I'm more of a darker peanut butter complexion. Before I became quote unquote conscious, I was in the military. I was in the Navy, and you know, my first wife was white, and I have a biracial child, daughter. And now that I understand and know basically not everything, but understand more because I didn't know anything, period, before I decided to learn about things. I think that a lot more people, and I know of people that do try to breed the blackness out, and also vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men and women will not be with a light-skinned person because they look at that person as inferior. And me, myself, now, I am speaking with, say, quote-unquote, since African woman. She's darker than me, and that's what I want. I want a darker woman because I want my rest of my children to have that melanation. Now I understand what melanation is, what it helps, what it does. I want the rest of my children to have that. Another point I want to point out, I was on Facebook today, and it was one of these Black Unity pages, it was a point said, it had a pie chart, who black men marry. You know, it was a demographic, 89% black women, 9% white women. And I'm reading the comments, and I'm thinking, like, there's going to be some good comments on this. But I was disappointed because a lot of the comments said, well, marry who you want to marry. You know, it don't love knows the color line. And to me, I was irritated because this page is geared toward black unity, and now you're supporting, they're being hypocritical by saying marry who you want to marry, and people want to take that advice and marry whoever they see, not specifically a black woman or a black man. When how are you on a black page that's geared toward black unity, saying marry who you want to marry? You can't have racial integration and black unity at the same time because the antithesis or the opposite of black unity is racial integration.
Mm-hmm.
You can't support those who cancel each other out. And the food thing, you are correct. I know I've heard people say, I'm trying to eat more healthy, and people will say, oh, you eating on white people food, and it kind of hit me with a laugh. I'm like, white people food? What are you saying? All the health food, that's white people food, eating that, but they don't understand that all the processed food, all the canned food, processed food, microwave food, that is white people food they're eating. The people who made that are mainly majority white.
Mm-hmm.
So they're telling me that I'm eating white people food when they don't understand the food they're eating, the KFC, the horse meat from Burger King, that is white people food.
Exactly.
And it's the backwards mentality that we all get when we don't sit and think about something. It is really harmful to us. And the gender wars, oh my goodness. I'm lost for words in that because I spoke to a woman before. We talk about stuff, and I let her talk. I won't say let her talk. I let her say her piece and everything. And when I'm about to talk, she cut me off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't cut me off. Just I heard you when you spoke, and let me say what I have to say. She said, okay, I'm about to talk and say something, so she cut me off again. Like, you know what? I'm not about to have this conversation because you keep cutting me off. I'm respecting what you are saying and letting you get your word out. Keep cutting me off. And my point is, we don't know how to be with each other because we've been so beat down so much that we don't understand all quote unquote roles and how to act those parts out. A woman expects something from a man. A man has his duties in a relationship and vice versa. But it's so bad that we don't understand those basic things.
Right. Very true.
So yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in with your comments.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Peace. All right. We're going to come back to the phone lines in just a moment. The brother made a lot of good points. Definitely made a lot of good points. Integration, I have a huge problem with that. I've had some former friends who have really been into the integration thing, and they have moved like way out, and they feel like I've arrived because I live here or there. I purposely moved to the hood. I purposely moved into the city limits of Detroit. It probably would have been easier. It might even been cheaper to move to some of the suburbs because the taxes in the city are ridiculous. I purposely moved into the city limits to be here. Now, since I've moved here, the hood has become a lot more hood than it was when I first chose this area. But I have no desire to live around white people. That's not making it to me. That does nothing for me. When all this goes down, and it is going to go down, you don't want to live in a cracker neighborhood. You do not want to live in a cracker neighborhood. That is not the place to be. And a lot of us are not thinking like that. A lot of us are not thinking that we are at war. I don't know what it's going to take to figure out that we are at war, but we're not thinking like that. We're making a lot of stupid mistakes, just trying to have this appearance that we're doing so good and that everything is so lush and so lovely. Like there is nothing good about living in the Black community. That's a problem. What else was he saying? As far as mate selection, now I do want to make this clear. I have no problem with people who have a preference, for the most part, because I think we all have preferences. We all have our type. As long as that is your type and not something thrown on you by the media. For instance, I have one of the ways that you can be sure I would not date you when I was single was to tell me that you were interested in me because I was light skinned or because you only dated light skinned women, something like that. That told me that you were sick, pretty much. Because most people don't have that preference just naturally. It's because they've grown up and seen stuff on TV and whatever. So if you tell me you don't date black, dark skinned girls, I ain't gonna date you either, because sooner or later I'm not gonna be light enough and you're gonna go for what you really want, which is some white female. I'll be nice. Female anyway. So, stuff like that, you have to kind of be careful and kind of look at where the person's coming from. But we all have types. I have a type. My point, I think, is that should not choose your mate. Because there was a time when I would only date the most chocolate of the chocolate and didn't have a lot of other requirements. And guess what? All of those relationships failed because I was not looking for the right thing. I was not seeing if we could cooperate, if we could get along in peace, any of those kinds of things. So it's fine to have your preferences. Just keep in mind what's the most important. Because if you want to rebuild the community, the most important thing is to find somebody you're compatible with and somebody that you can build a life with and not get divorced in 2 or 3 years. Your children need a stable environment. So yes, they need the melanin too, but they need somebody that you can be stable with. So if you can find that and she is your type, then you've hit the jackpot. But sometimes you may have to find that person and they may not quite be your type. So we have to prioritize. So that's my thing there. It would be totally unrealistic to tell people don't have a type, because we all do, whether it's dark, light, big, little, short, tall, whatever. We all have preferences, but those preferences should be put to the side when it comes to building and what is the most healthy for us. And if we can get it all, then definitely get it all. I'm not one to tell somebody to settle either. As far as health goes, we need to get in touch with the concept that health is a Black concept. That is Black. Disease is white. Like I said at the beginning of the show, they used to be the ones with all these diseases, not us. So health actually is a Black thing. We were the ones in the kitchen cooking. I mean, and when we were in Africa still, we cooked from scratch. We cooked for our family. We love cooking. No matter where you go, you see Black people. We cook. South America, Africa, Asia, don't matter. We cook for our families. We're healthy. That's what we do. Even when we were enslaved here, we cooked for everybody's family, ours and the people who enslaved us. So not cooking and all this convenience food, being too lazy to cook, that's white. You hungry, you going and grabbing the Snicker bars and Fritos and all that, that's white. That's not black. Black people cook. Black people take care of their health and their family. So the brother definitely made a lot of good points, and we definitely appreciate that call. We're going to go back to the phone lines. I'm not sure if we've already gone to this call or not, so let's see. 2874, you're live on War on the Horizon. 2847. All right. They are just listening in. Let me go back to my brother, see if he's done doing what he was doing. Brother, you still busy? You got a question or comment?
Yes, hello?
Hey.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Well, one thing I would say before I get to any kind of question, I like to say I've listened to Warren Rising for pretty much months now. I would say this is the most rawest and the one that only show I know that fights against the black people. I respect y'all for that. I don't see no other radio station do that. Guys, y'all.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's funny to say, but it's very key because of the way how things going. And say there has to be somebody that has to say this is not right. You know what I'm saying? And talk about it in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? All I know is this was the only one. I give you credit because, first of all, you go into the shop, every so-called chance you get to talk about it. And maybe you say how people will listen not that they sometimes drop the call. Everyone needs this up. You know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I mean, that tells me that's one. Hold on. Let me think about I think I got my higher. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, this is the only show, and I respect y'all for that. And I hope y'all continue to work to bring out, especially with this homosexual, what do you call it, gender. Because they have to sympathize. Because people know that this is not no cool. This is outside our culture. And times in the last, I would say, decade, at least, people have become more comfortable with it, which is scary. Have you noticed that they that?
Of course, when I was coming up, fags would get beat up. Lesbians, like there was one dyke that I knew in my school, and we stayed the heck away from her. She was kind of outcast. So and there was some dudes that we suspected were gay, but they would never come out and say it. It was not acceptable. Now it's acceptable, and it started, I think, in the. Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much acceptable to the degree where time is. And I think we make time with disease. We must understand that if we worry about the little small disease, you should be even more afraid now because now disease is gonna be rampant because of the now most people come out of the closet. I know one time I was listening to one radio station. They come out one person was in a relationship with their own wife, and he gave her wife what they call it, HIV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she knows she had it because the man of his lifestyle because he was playing double life.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah. I
told you many times. This is what a lot of causes this. Right? And it's 2013 going on. All these homosexuals are going to come out of the closet because they're going to be flushed out. And I'm telling you what's going to flush out mostly. Other faggot men are going to flush out. Because watch YouTube and one faggot man says he's going to call all the pastors they used to mess with. And they're not going to do nothing. You know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's probably, and so they think that because everything's going to be now revealed, it's going to be revealed because it's going to be flushed out. So if it don't just come out, just open it right now. So everybody we see can start marketing. Yep, we stay away from you. We keep you away from you. And I tell most of you this. And I know it's my sister left the church, but they want to make a decision now. Because the way how the church is going, what has been going, I say you want to put your seed in a system, which you know there's a faggot that benefits for go on time to have your son be ultimate or whatever them things. That's how they we have some deep questions I'd be asked.
Yep.
Because that's where the message is really started. It's really in the church system. And now that most of the facts not drawing them out, and most of that they had no idea, I said because you're fascist with the pastor, you know, you're going to harm your own son and daughter, especially the sons, because most of them want the boys. They don't care about the women. You know?
That's true.
Yeah, all right, but let me get on to this. Before I ask my question, because you said you are a red-bone woman. Am I right?
I'm lighter skinned. I'm lighter skinned, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, one thing I want to ask, and most of the brothers don't understand, or what most sisters understand, this tells you still think in a so-called self-hate manner. Because if I tell people, if I ask most women critically, we find that it's not because when he looks nice, and then when his complexity, that tells me, I mean, you're looking for something that you want to hide. So times after you been around a person, it's gonna be like, well, you know, I've been around that, so I gotta indulge. No, it's like it's behavior. I'm trying to say, you know what I'm saying? To go see, I'm always looking for a woman because she's a little bit lighter than me. That just makes sense. That is illogic. I tell most sisters, and I tell especially brothers that's very illogic. Because you know most us brothers, if you know ladies, that most of them that want a light skinned woman tell you they want a white woman. Subconscious in their mind. I mean, I'm not disrespecting light skinned, but most of them that always say they prefer that, in the back of my mind, they want a white woman. Hands up. You can't go around that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I said that a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. I think you said earlier, but it's a lot to say. You know, for them to go to the purpose and put pressure on the other sisters, and you know, other sisters really get pressured by the ones that don't want them. And if they don't want you, just fine, move on and find a man, a dark man that could, especially one that's either dark or brown. But don't go outside race because most of the men is head screw up. You know what I'm saying? There's some men that still like respect black. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So my question to you, and that was tonight, is the suicide of my mentality. Is you think to the most of other cities that is going crazy and crazy every day, you think a good number is going to snap out of this in time, or is it going to get worse down the line? That's one of my questions.
Okay. I would think that things are going to continue to get worse until they are forced to get better. I think that most of us are going to continue to fall lower and lower until we are attacked in such a way that we have to come together and we have to snap out of it. I don't think that we're going to necessarily come out of it on our own. I think it's going to be by force.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's very true. I think you're really right on the money with that because I just don't see none of really snapping out of this so-called mindset until they have to be forced in the back of the wall. And usually people, and that's something because we do well sometimes under pressure. But I tell people, see, I just still be mindful and still be able to use your mind and conscious under pressure, you know what I'm saying? Because, see, at times, this is how we get picked out each because we go by too much by emotions. I know it's most men because they've been raised by a single household. They, in their back of the mind, they act now more emotion than logic. And you know this is true. So that tells me right that most men are being settled down to the core. That's how there's not even one masculine left in them. From the birth. You know what I'm saying? And then that's just like the victims of this so-called single household. Which is how I tell most of the time, you're not ready to deal with a family. Get into yourself. Only a little bit. Don't want to go sleep every woman or something. Because I know we all need this, but at times it really lots because we create more monsters and more problems than we already need. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I don't want your child to get her AIDS and then they start robbing me because she's a part of the victim of, you know, this behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It has become the norm in today's black culture in America. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I know some women today say they like the independent bullshit and they don't want no man on that. I said, you're playing onto the trap. If you don't want no man, then what do you need? What do you want then? You're not no girl? I hope not. I'm saying, when I hear these talk, I always put in the back of my mind and say, okay, you think you're a man to be independent. So if you're independent means somebody's going to be your daddy. If it ain't, the black man that's trying to help you in this, it's going to be the system. You know?
Yes, sir.
So at times, I just want to make the decision. Well, you know, I think that's all I can really say right now.
All right. Well,
keep up the good work. I mean, I want y'all to keep banging those homosexuals and that beef. Because y'all do only dance on War on the Horizon.
Thank you so much for calling in. Peace. Yeah, the brother has a point. War on the Horizon does tend to just say whatever's on our mind. That's why I was laughing because I think that the personalities on War on the Horizon pretty much make the station. That's what separates us from everybody. And it's not just the DJs either. It's some of y'all. Y'all be calling in off the hook sometimes. I done heard y'all say some stuff that I'm like, dang, I don't even know if I would say that. So yes, the combination of hosts and the strength of the callers definitely makes War on the Horizon 1 in a million. Let's see. He said a lot of good things there. As far as single women wanting to be single, you know, that's I don't really know what to say about that. It's ridiculous and it's dysfunctional. Um, and a lot of times it's just because they don't want a man to tell them what to do, but we need to be told what to do. You know, it's a lot of single mothers raising sons and they don't want to have a relationship because they don't want another man. They don't want the baby's father or any other man to have any input in how they raise their sons. They want to do it on their own because they think they know everything. And that's why our sons are so messed up. And that's why I said earlier that men are the new women because we've raised them to be the new women. Um, as from a woman, you don't know how a man thinks. There's a lot of things because, like I said, I've never had a lot of female friends. I've always had more male friends. So I've kind of got to see the contrast. You don't realize when you're getting emotional over something, that's not really something a man would be emotional over. He'd have a different reaction. But because that's how we are, we think that that's normal. And so we raise our sons to be the same way, just thinking that that's normal. That's how people are. We don't realize that that's how we are because we're women. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how women should be. But there is something wrong with that when that's how your son is. When you're teaching your son to sit around and whine and complain instead of solving the problem, that's not good. That's not good at all. But we do a lot of these things. We effeminize our sons while we let our daughters be masculine as they want to be because we're as masculine as we want to be. Definite problem. Definite problem. And like I said, for everybody out there, well, we raising babies on our own. Well, that gives you the chance to be the only one making decisions. So if you're so daggone good at what you do, put your money where your mouth is and do a better job on these children. Because as of now, when I see most people with their children, especially black women, you don't act like you love your children, and you don't, because you don't love yourself. And that's why, going back to the color thing, you'll go up to the light-skinned girl and say how pretty she is while your beautiful dark-skinned daughter is sitting there watching you. And then she grows up to hate light-skinned people, and then we still have the light-skinned, dark-skinned thing going on. Why? Because you were stupid. You were so stupid that you put somebody else's child over yourself. Or you so stupid, you telling your son, you just like your daddy. You ain't no good just like your daddy. I heard my neighbor walking down the street the other day talking to her son. Her son did something. I mean, nothing serious. Something a child does. Maybe he threw a stick or something. Didn't hurt anybody. I should have left your ASS at home. Dang. Okay, well, that's how you talk to a little child. That's how you show respect. But then you expect him to respect you? You expect him to respect you. Seriously. And you talking to him like that. And that's a day-to-day thing. Suicide. You're damaging him before the world even gets to him. You've done the damage, black woman. And black man, you've done the damage too, because in reality, you should be there. Even if you didn't have a commitment to her, you should be there. That's your seed. If you don't know if that's your seed, get a test. Man up. And yeah, she's going to make your life a living hell for 18 years, but you wasn't thinking about that when you was laying down with her. You should have been sexually responsible. All this irresponsibility, all this pushing the blame on other people, completely dysfunctional and completely suicidal. It's all of our faults, and we all need to take responsibility for our part in it. It's ridiculous. Couple other things, I guess. I've been really bothered since I wrote my book, because I never saw myself as any kind of artist or anything like that, or, you know, super talented person, anything like that. But since I wrote my book, I've been paying attention to other books that are out. I've been paying attention to lyrics to songs, anything written. I've been seeing what we're giving our people to digest. And it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Lauryn Hill had a song, you know, talking about music is supposed to inspire. Why we ain't getting no higher? Because we're degenerates. We're not worried about using our talents to uplift anybody. We're worried about making money. I was on a website the other day, actually a group on Facebook for writers. And some black woman, I'm assuming it's a black woman because the name was something like Sharmika or something, wrote a book. Now I'm used to all the ghetto hood lit, you know, all the nasty who's having sex with who type stuff. Nah. That wasn't enough. All the cheating and drug dealing, all that wasn't enough. That wasn't degenerate enough. She wrote a book about bestiality, about somebody marrying somebody and they wasn't really in love and he was away all the time, so she get with the damn dog. Is that where it's at, black people? That's the kind of stuff that we're doing? And that's the kind of danger. See, people don't understand when we're talking about hip hop and why we shouldn't be listening to hip hop and why we shouldn't be watching these stupid shows on TV, because it numbs your senses, and then you need more and more and more. You got to keep going over the edge to get that thrill, because what used to excite you doesn't excite you anymore. Kind of like with pornography. That's why homosexuality, one reason why homosexuality is getting big. People start watching pornography. Man with a woman, missionary. Okay, that ain't enough. Now we got to try some different positions. Okay, that ain't enough. Now we got to have a threesome. Okay, that ain't enough. Now we got to do some other stuff. I don't even know. I can only imagine what it's progressed to. You know? Because it's never enough. We got to do more and more and more to keep the thrill. And the same thing with literature. You know, it started off with Terry McMillan, and then it went to Elin Harris and a bunch of homo stuff, and then all this ghetto erotica came up, and then all these coons writing books. Mental suicide. And it's not going to stop. Now it's gotten to the point where some black woman, you know what, because she had a lot of views. I went to Amazon to check on this book, this novel about the woman with her dog, having an affair with her daggone dog. My book had probably about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 reviews. I didn't really count. Her book had 100 reviews. Now, let me tell you something. When you write a book, lots and lots of people will buy the book, but it's very, very hard to get anybody to review the book. They just don't think about it. They read the book and then they're done with it. It's very hard to get somebody to go back to a site and leave a review. For her to have 100 reviews on that kind of book is sick. Absolutely sick. That means so many people have read her book. It's ridiculous. So now we have to worry about this underground culture we have in Black America, where it's not like molestation is not enough. Now the damn dog ain't even safe. And we wonder where these diseases are coming from. Some of them are coming from white people. Some of them might be coming from Rover or Fido or Snooky or whatever the daggone dog's name is. Because now these black women that don't need a man, they ain't just going to another woman. They're going to their puppies. Disgusting. We are demoralizing each other. I think I saw, and I don't know any Lil Wayne songs, but I did hear he had said the Emmett Till comment, and then later talked about he was uplifting the black community. Really? Are you stupid enough to think that? Well, I guess so, because we're stupid enough to support it. And all these people talking about Lil Wayne this and Lil Wayne that, when the rumor came out that he had a seizure and died, then it's all prayers for Lil Wayne. Get real, people. Choose a side. Choose a side. It is mental suicide. I guess one of the last things would be domestic violence. And I just did a show on that, so I don't have to get too far into that. Another form of suicide, if you know that you're with somebody who is doing you physical harm and can really hurt you, and you stay with them anyway, you have a problem. You have a problem. There's a part of you that does not value yourself and possibly wants to die. You're used to abuse. You love the abuse. And you don't value your life. So you let somebody beat on you, you let somebody whip you, you let somebody threaten you, you let somebody do all kinds of stuff, and you don't leave. Sometimes you let somebody hit your child, molest your child, do all kinds of things to your children, and you don't care about them because you don't care about you. Or sometimes we're so shady that we say, well, I went through it, they gonna go through it too. We don't love ourselves, we don't love our children. Again, that is complete and utter suicide. So that is really all I have for you. And I think that that's all the calls. Unless somebody wants to call in right quick, you still got a moment. You can call in before we end the show. But that's really it. I'm going to end with a couple announcements. Again, just reminders for anybody that missed the beginning of the program. Again, DJ is going to be following me next with the cipher, talking about, is there any future for white people in South Africa? Hope I didn't jack up that too bad. I don't have it sitting right in front of me, but that should be an awesome show. I want to remind everybody that War on the Horizon will be at Songhai City Cultural Center at 4 p.m. this Saturday, so check that out. I want to remind everybody that my next show will be the launch of God's Gift Summer Series. We're going to be going over chapters 1 through 2 in the book. That's going to be June 4th, and my guest will be the Irritated Genie of Southeast. Again, I want to let you know about the new website. So if you are a fan of the blog, don't keep going to the other one. Come on over to the new one, authorangela.freeman.com. So that's authorangela.freeman.com, and you can find everything that was on the old blog. You can find updates. You can find all of my radio programs will now be uploaded there instead of the other website. The other blog is going to be going out of existence. So that is all I have for you. I don't see any more calls, so we're going to go on and wrap it up. Brother DJ will be getting started in about 12 minutes or so. And so I will see you in 2 weeks for the start of God's Gift Summer Series, and that will be weekly. Peace.